Hello, it's me, Jess. Welcome to my channel. I'm here with another channeled message. This is a specific message. It might resonate with you, it might not. Okay, so I'm picking up on a situation here, and it feels like something has just popped off or something has just happened here. And for some of you, maybe in some way it's continuing to happen or it's like continuing to unfold. It feels like whatever this is, in some way it is big or it's rattling or it's like life-changing or explosive in some way, and it feels like it just happened, like in the very recent, very immediate past. And I feel like in some way you're still processing this or your energy is still reeling. I feel like you're kind of confused in some way as to like what does this mean, or who do I believe, or what just happened. But I'm sensing you in this like Nine of Wands energy. There's something about this that is like self-defense, or like you're feeling very self-protective. And I feel like in some way you are still observing someone here, I think. I think you're observing someone, and this is a person that has to do with whatever this incident was. Now, this incident could have been an actual incident, something that happened or something that you were told happened. And now you're like wondering, like, who do I believe, kind of a thing. It also could have been a conversation, either a conversation that you had with this like person in question, where maybe you were like confronting this person with some kind of question or some kind of evidence or something, or it could have been a conversation that you had with somebody who informed you about somebody else. It feels like your partner or your significant other, but it could really be, it feels like it's somebody close to you in some way. So it could have been that like your friend called and was like, listen, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I was out last night and I saw such and such out dancing up on this, it could have been something like that. And so if it was something like that, I feel like you're still processing it. I feel like maybe you don't know whether or not you should believe it. And I feel like maybe you have not had a conversation with like the person in question. Instead, I feel like you are quite rightly like pulled back in some way, observing from a distance. And that's either an emotional distance where you're trying to take like the personal out of it. You're trying not to observe from like a personal lens. You're trying to just observe like as objectively as possible. But I do think for some of you, you've taken some kind of actual distance here, and you're kind of like side-eyeing somebody. Like, you're kind of like, wait, like, do I believe this, or did you do this, or what's going on? Guilt. I'm kind of seeing you try to kind of sniff out some type of guilt. But again, it's from like a self-defense standpoint. And there's something here that you are trying to figure out, because I feel like you haven't said something. Even if you did have a conversation with this person and something here popped off in conversation, I feel like there's something now though that you're like kind of holding close to your chest. Even if like maybe you kind of agreed to put something to bed here, you haven't really, because whatever it is, it kind of changes everything, or it changes the trajectory of everything, or it's big, or maybe somebody like made some type of accusation or something. And so you're trying to kind of figure this out. And so you are protecting yourself. And I can see here that there is a mindset that you have that's associated with this, and not just this. There's some kind of mindset here. Okay, because I've got the Nine of Wands in front of me, and in this particular card, so like there's the 9 wands, and it's a fence. Like she's like made a fence out of these 9 wands, and she's kind of standing behind it. And I feel like those 9 wands are like a mindset. So I feel like there's some kind of certain things that you've been through with this person, where maybe you didn't even realize it, but you're kind of set up to view things through a certain lens. Or it could just be, there's a certain way that I feel like your mind is set up, and that's either like overall or like to do with this person in general. So what I mean is, the way this fence is set up, she's got 5 wands here that are like stakes in the ground to hold up the fence, right? And the 5 of wands is that kind of like competitive energy. And then there's 3 wands that are kind of woven through those, woven through those 5. And those 3 wands, like the 3 of wands is such a powerful card. To me it is anyways, because it's like such powerful sun energy is like what I get off of that. Independent energy. But those wands are not upright, and they kind of look like all sad and kind of dilapidated and wonky. So I feel like in some way there's a mindset here where because 3 of Wands is Sun and Aries energy for me. The Sun exalts in Aries, and Aries is our physical body. It's that first house. It's very auspicious. It's our personhood. It's our selfhood. It's our independence. That in some way has been lumped over to the side. And it's all pointed in a certain direction, but it's not how it should be. It kind of reminds me of, I always give this example, but that documentary Blackfish about the killer whales being in captivity, and they kind of go crazy because they need a lot of space. They're huge animals and they're pack animals. And so they go nuts, like when you separate them out, and their fin that usually stands up straight, like it gets all sad and like kind of flopped over. That's the energy that I'm getting from this, like the Three of Wands here. And I feel like there was some kind of like competition that was set up here between you and another person. And maybe you're kind of realizing that now. I don't know if it's such a conscious thought, but you're kind of realizing that, like, why do I have this viewpoint of this other person? And I think it's because, like, it feels like your person, like your partner, set up some kind of competition without you kind of even realizing it. And in doing so, they did it with such a light hand or something that, like, it controlled your frame of a certain situation. And so you're trying to have like pick up the Ace of Wands here, but it's again kind of curved in this situation, and you're feeling unsure about it. So maybe you want some kind of new beginning, possibly with like a partner here, or it's whoever you're suspicious of. Maybe you're like thinking, okay, you're either with this person and you've gotten some kind of piece of information or something, and you're like, do I want to investigate this? It's like I'm picturing you outside of a big dark cave, and you've got your Ace of Wands there all lit up, and you're like, do I want to go in there and like kind of poke my lantern around? I mean, God knows what I'm going to find in there, kind of a thing. Like, do I really want this? Am I really like... So for some of you, it's that. And for others of you, I feel like maybe there's some type of new beginning here that's maybe been on the table. But now you learned something and you feel on the outs, or you feel trepidatious. And so you're kind of going back and forth, trying to kind of figure this out. Okay. So that's one energy that's coming through. Now, all of a sudden in my mind, I'd kind of jolt forward and I see the 10 of Swords. And the 10 of Swords, it's that classic, like, person with the 10 swords in their back. And it's that energy of betrayal, but it's also like a very painful ending. And actually the whole energy that I've seen you in, it kind of reminds me of like a cop kind of showing up to the scene, been called out there and shows up to the scene and is kind of piecing together people's stories and what this person saw, what that person saw, what this person claims happened, what that person claims happened. And it's kind of trying to weave together like the holes in the story, but it also feels like there's a focus or an emphasis here in your mind on, okay, something like certain key things like motive, okay, or like, so what's the motive here? Like, what's the angle? Why would somebody do this? But also like, what is the, like, who started it, kind of thing, or you're trying to piece together like people's stories here, to kind of try. It's like that. Well, there's two sides to every story, your story, my story, and the truth. But it feels like there's different, I don't know, you're just trying to weave something here together. And I feel like it's almost like a murder mystery game or something like that, where, because I'm seeing that 10 of Swords where it's like a whodunit, like in this painful ending. And I feel like you've gotten two impressions of maybe the same person, but there's something here also about conversation. Like when somebody, okay, I just want to pause. Like I'm wondering if you even have two sides of the story here, because I think for some you only have one, but it was said to you in such a way that it seemed at the time to be very calm, and it seemed at the time to be very reasonable. Okay. But here's the thing that I'm picking up on. Okay. Here's the juice. You don't have a history of dealing with guilty people is what I'm hearing. I feel like you yourself would never do something like this, or you yourself come from a place of innocence and you kind of don't know what guilt actually looks like. And it's not like very loud, but I feel like there's something weird about this person. There's some person here, and it's like shocking to you that they are presenting something here like one entire way, and it's actually like an entire other way. Yeah. And I just got like very emotional, like saying that. And I feel like you don't want to believe it for some reason. And I think that reason is wholly valid, because I think that maybe for some of you, because like I said before, there was some kind of like maybe competition that was set up between you and this person, or you felt competitive. Maybe you already had a mindset. Maybe for some reason you were looking at this person like competition. And I just heard, how did that get there? And I think you're kind of like, okay, well, did this person make me feel insecure around, was it them making me feel insecure? Like where did this come from? This is very, very good is what I'm hearing. This is actually very good. I feel like you feel in a situation now where you're like, I don't know up from down. I don't know my ass from my elbow. Like, can somebody hold me and tell me what's going on here? This is unpacking your mindset is what this is, because there's some type of competition here that's very natural. And I think it's maybe with somebody of the same sex. And I think that feels very natural because you feel defensive, and this could be somebody that is a mother figure. This could be somebody that's a rival, or you didn't know if they were a rival, but maybe you didn't even get to know them, is what I'm hearing. This feels like flash judgment or something, or it feels like you were fed a story from, it feels like your guy or like your person, something, and you wanted to believe it, and because you fancy this person, you find them attractive, I think. And that's motive, because motive was one of your questions. So motive inside your own mind. He's very attractive. I would love it if he's sane as well, and if he has my, it's like these little things I feel like, and I'm not saying one way or the other, but I feel like you're kind of piecing these kinds of things together. And I think some of you are realizing that you're set up in some way, and that actually you weren't, I think for some of you, you're realizing you didn't have independent thought in this situation, but in some way you were thinking that you did. Because I feel like you were fed some kind of story and you kind of believed it, but now you're questioning it. Now you're kind of piecing together. I just saw Clue, like the game of Clue, where you're trying to figure out the murder mystery, how did this end? Why did this end? Yeah, but it feels like between your person and somebody else, like maybe there was a relationship. It could have been a friendship. It could have been a conversation that kind of ended badly. But I think you're piecing it together, and you're feeling kind of, uncertain about it. And, but getting back to this person, whoever it was that was kind of telling you a story, and I think that they looked a certain way while they were doing it. They looked noble, or they looked reasonable or calm. Or they were saying things that kind of added up. But I feel like they were saying just enough. Like, actually, when you think back, they weren't pouring forth information. They said kind of specific things in a specific order is what I'm getting. And it might not even been a lie, but they might have mixed the order up. Or it could have been that they were in some way being evasive, but it pretended to be open and honest. It pretended to be reasonable, but they were actually lying by omission is what I'm getting. They were actually leaving key pieces of information out, which that's forethought, that's strategy there, in some kind of conversation that they were having. And I feel like it was in order to either weaponize they knew that you felt competitively with somebody else here. Or they lied to you. Okay, so now I'm remembering I had my very first serious boyfriend ever. He tried to convince me that his parents hated me, which was such a shock because I was such a goody two shoes growing up. It came out where his dad was like, "We've always really liked you, Jess." It all kind of came out, and I was like, "I knew it," but he was trying to make me think that they didn't like me so that he could get away with his lies. I found out later that he's just this pathological liar, but I mean, he had me fooled. He could have had me fooled, he did have me fooled for a long period of time. So I feel like it's something kind of like that, where you really trusted this person. And now I feel like you're kind of going back in your mind, thinking about a conversation, maybe the way a conversation ended, or a friendship, or something here like that. And you're recognizing that there's some holes here in the story. But I'm also getting set up or framed. And I don't know if this person is telling you that, oh, it looks a certain way, but I was set up or I was framed. And this is kind of a situation where it's like, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, but you just really wanted to believe this person. I feel like they maybe told you some kind of victim story here, or they set somebody else up to look guilty in order to deflect, but I feel like there's been two very opposite stories here. But the point that I want to make, though, is that there's something here that is guilt. There's a way that this person acted. And I feel like it was and this may have to do with this incident that the pop off, that something here that just recently happened, because somebody got spooked, or they did something that you really weren't expecting based on what they were saying, or what they, and it feels like maybe they ended something really abruptly, they ended the conversation really abruptly, or they got really angry with you or something. But it feels like it seemed like if you did initiate a conversation with this person, it seems like maybe it was kind of going well and it was kind of calm, but then all of a sudden this person bolted toward, I'm seeing genuinely like a cop show kind of thing in my mind where at first like the suspect kind of seems so reasonable and you're kind of believing them, but you're kind of not. And then all of a sudden they try to run away from you, and then like you're having to run after them and you're like, what? Where did that come from? And then you find the weapon or something, it feels like that. There's a guilt. And I feel like you're not recognizing that that's actually what guilt looks like, on this person. There's a lot of people grieve differently, but also people show guilt differently, and they deal with it because I feel like they're really not wanting to get caught here. But it feels like in some way somebody here was circling in on something that was true about this person. It was either you or somebody else in regards of this incident. And the way that this person shows their guilt confuses you, is what this is. And I do feel there's a motive for you to believe this person though, because, you want to believe that he's your Prince Charming, or you want to be rivals with this person. There's some part of your psyche that is set up in a certain way. I just heard set up. It's like kind of set you up to kind of believe this person or go against people that are innocent. I just heard, or to avoid them, to avoid the topic or to avoid the issue so you don't poke further. Something here was, I feel like that's actually a key for a ring-a-ding-ding. Maybe something here had to do with a ring or some kind of commitment. Ring camera. Maybe for some of you, they don't want you to go snooping on some kind of ring doorbell camera, or maybe they deleted some kind of video and they don't want you to ask any more questions. They want to shut it down. This person really wanted to shut it down. But I feel like, again, somebody was kind of getting close here. Somebody was kind of poking around something that it feels like this person has done before, and they were like about ready to get caught. And so I don't know if you were drawn into this mess where this person tried to avoid justice by appealing to you instead of like, I think maybe they were getting called out. And so they told you that again, it feels like you were just a cop. You were like called in to the situation. You weren't there. And you were trying to kind of piece things together. Again, be very careful if you've only got one side of the story here, or if you need to address some part of your psyche that is in competition with the same sex, it feels like is something you should really screen yourself for. Like just in general, if you just, or if you find somebody of the same sex kind of attractive and then you automatically kind of take this oppositional stance towards them, but they really didn't do anything. Yeah, because it feels like there's a mindset here, and it's either something that you already came in with, or it's something that this person stoked in you in a way that you didn't recognize in order to milk it for their benefit. This is highly manipulative. It feels like something here that's gone on, and they're actually feeling defensive. I feel like they wanted some kind of new beginning. Yeah. They wanted some kind of passionate new beginning. Maybe they, the Fool just came out. So maybe they just wanted to jump into something and maybe like kind of not deal with it or not talk about it. So if this is like your partner or your person, there's something here they really don't want to talk about. They just want to jump into something here and like some kind of new beginning, either with you or with somebody else, and they don't want to talk about it. And so I feel like they play the victim in some way, like, oh, I'm just too weak, or I'm just too sad, but this is kind of guilt. And I feel like there's a way that they feel guilt maybe about somebody here walking away. Could be you. Yeah. They don't like to think about this. They maybe wanted like some kind of win or some kind of victory here, but I feel like they were trying to shut something down here, and they were trying to deflect, and they were trying to mislead, and they were trying to evade. And they were trying to shut some kind of inquisition down here as well, too. Like a series of questions. So like if a conversation ended really weird or really, badly, it's because they were trying to shut down a series of inquisitive questions. Or they were trying to, or if you didn't ask any inquisitive questions like towards this person, that may have been because they were leading you up that garden path. This feels highly deceptive. Yeah. So let me just see if I can't get anything else. Because this feels like a big deal, whatever it is. Tower. Tower. This is a tower moment. I feel like it was a tower moment then in some way. Something here has just popped off, but I feel like there's a realization here that is some kind of tower moment here. Yeah, the moon. I feel like there's a lot of emotion here. Yeah, very defensive stance. So maybe some of you feel like you've done something wrong here. Yeah, I feel like this guy, it's emperor energy, but I'm kind of getting like a strategy, being very strategic, but trying to present themselves as an emperor. But this is like an emperor wannabe. Yeah, so the moon card, and this woman is like under the water in the moon card. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I just said under the water, and it made me think of that. Remember the that short? It's like, I don't know where it was from originally, but it went like viral. It was that like Indian man, and he's like, hello, please help me. I'm under the water. And all the comments are like, he's so polite. So he's under the water. He's having a struggle. He still manages to greet you and to be polite and all that stuff. So I feel like there's somebody here actually kind of like that. They always manage to greet you. Yeah. Like, even though they were drowning. Okay. So this is either you or somebody else, because somebody here is guilty. But I feel like maybe somebody else, you're starting to realize that's why it's so hard for you to kind of have this realization, is because there's a lot of guilt because you sided with the wrong person, and you were taught or told to fight this other person, or to compete this other person, or to be defensive around like this other person, when actually you should have been defensive around somebody else. But it feels like whoever this other person is, they were just like that. Maybe they were under the water, but this person's like, hello, please help me. Like, they, even when they're struggling and they were like hurt by this person, or they were being blamed or victim blamed or something here, they still managed to be polite and to say hello and to like ask for help. Maybe for some of you, you felt that that made them guilty. Maybe it almost there's something here about the way that these people are communicating, and like you're looking at one person through one lens and another person through another lens, because I think that on the one hand, this person that you believed, I'm associating them with, well, they were so reasonable and they were very calm. But then this other person, it's that energy of like, hello, I'm under the water. Like, but it's also kind of chipper. So I feel like this person tried to put a brave face on it, but their brave face is like maybe trying to not make people feel uncomfortable. They were always, and I think in some way that made you not believe them, even though they were really hurting. And so, maybe you want to clear the air. Somebody wanted to prevent you from clearing the air with this person. They definitely wanted to prevent a line of inquiry. In regards of them, like you having a conversation with them, but they wanted to make you feel defensive about this other person so that you wouldn't ask them. And even if you did ask them, or if they came to you with their side of the story, that you wouldn't believe them. You see how hyper manipulative this is? This is somebody here is playing like 4D chess, and it's all because they're guilty of something. This person is guilty, and they don't want you finding out, and they don't want other people finding out. And if you ask a series of questions, it would lead to them. If you asked good, genuinely just logical questions, it would point to this person. So they want to shut it down. And they preyed on some kind of vulnerability, or again, it feels like some kind of mindset. They put you in a defensive stance somehow. And maybe they did it without you even realizing it. Or they could see that this was already there. It's the 5 of Wands that's standing out to me here. And that kind of 3 of Wands. That floppy 3 of Wands. Yeah. So I feel like this is you are gaining this like temperance energy here. This person could have not wanted a loss in regards of a wish fulfillment. Yeah, there was a strategy here because they did not want a loss in regards of some kind of wish fulfillment. And that wish fulfillment has to do with an Empress energy. So that could be you, or that could be somebody else here, where they're trying to actually like kind of maybe navigate around or get back to that person. Yeah, the Emperor and the Empress. They're trying to, and that Empress energy is the Queen of Swords. She's very like blocked off and logical, like thinking with her mind here, and is like kind of locked up her heart here. Maybe that's you. Maybe that's what happened in this incident. And yeah, it's kind of watching. Yeah, this like 5 of Cups. Oh no, so he's watching, I think. Somebody in a 5 of Cups energy. Maybe waiting for the right time. But that person was like, whoever he did something to is like really up in their head. And that could be you, or that could be somebody else. Yeah. So, yeah, I think some of you are letting go of this, or you're feeling like you need a break, maybe. Yeah. There's a lot of different scenarios that are coming through, and this reading's already been long and like confusing enough, because for some of you, I feel like maybe you are a third party and you are looking at some kind of passionate lovers situation, and you feel sorry about that, because that's not what was presented to you. But for others of you, I feel like maybe you have been a part of a very passionate like relationship, but you're feeling like you need to be independent. You know, you need to be single here because of, some kind of something here like revealed the truth. Yeah, there's some kind of justice or some kind of balancing out that's occurring or needs to occur here, or there's some kind of conversation. For some of you, I do think there's maybe a conversation you feel that you need to have with somebody else. You know, like a third party here, or somebody that you were taught to distrust. You were in some way set up to distrust, or the fact that you already have a hesitation around a certain kind of person. It feels like same sex. Somebody that maybe you feel intimidated by or just naturally threatened by. This person's picking it up and stoking those flames and knew what they were doing. And so it feels like there needed to be a conversation here. They knew what they were doing. Somebody here did. But I just want to say, I feel like, again, there's guilt. There's a way that this person is actually demonstrating guilt, but it also, okay, so it's guilt, but there's like an anxiety here, where this person's maybe like very stiff and feels caught. They feel angry and they feel like they're about to be held accountable. And this is also a person, there might be something very strange. Like if you ask the right questions, just the logical questions to ask here, just straight from like a logical perspective, like whatever story this person's telling you, if you just ask like those kind of questions, this person would cry, but it feels like in a rage, and it feels like there's pressure here and it's like all bottled up, and it's like rageful emotion, where this is not a healthy way that this person's like gone about some kind of big emotion, trying to go after an Empress energy or trying to cover up their tracks here in some way or get what they want. And it feels like they were caught out. They were being held accountable. And this is the kind of energy where like, again, going back to the cop example, right? If they're like, we're arresting you for obstruction of justice or something, whatever it is. This is a person who would just like keep asking, like, they would keep insisting that they didn't do anything wrong. Well, I didn't do anything wrong. But it's like, because what they did, they're in such a bad way, they're in such a bad habit that to them, it's like, well, that really wasn't anything, you know? But it absolutely was something. And they were doing that. And then they'll be like, but I didn't do anything wrong. They'll keep repeating that, like, but I didn't do anything wrong. So like, what am I brought in for? And like, you'll have to keep like answering that until you realize that it's not really about them not hearing you or like not understanding. It could be that they're not in their right mind, or that there was some kind of like substance thing here. Maybe that's what they're trying to cover up. I don't know. But yeah, it just feels like this person's, it's evasive, but it's also like hard as a rock, whatever it is. It's just like very condensed, like very condensed. And something here needs to be like eliminated, but in like the right way, in a healthy way. But this person, it's like, it's all so bottled, and they can't say what they really want to say because it feels like they're called out here, and they know that they're like in a lie, and they desperately do not want to be held accountable. They don't want anybody to ask the right questions. But it feels like maybe somebody here is going to, I don't know, but it's rage and it's crying, and this would really scare you, or it would surprise you. And for some of you, I think maybe you went along with it. You didn't ask the right questions and you didn't get the other side of the story because this person's plan went off without a hitch, is what I just heard. Because you did feel competitive towards this other person or defensive, and you took their word for it. And there's some kind of similar quality where like this person was reasonable or sane. This other person, I think, was also in some way non-emotional, but they were trying to be chipper. But this person was underwater. Hello, I am under the water. Please help me. So they were asking for some kind of help in a way they were trying to be believed, because both of these people seem to know like they can't bring the raw emotions. But I actually think somebody here was under the water. They were really struggling, and they were asking for help, and they were being polite. They were trying to be polite. So for some of you, this is a woman, because we all have that wound, you know, where we're supposed to be above all else polite. Even if whatever this person did to them, you know, maybe you were being polite, and that's why you didn't ask certain questions here, because it was framed as like, if you continue to push on it, it would be rude. And he just knew that it would work. I'm saying he, because it feels to me like there's a man at the center of this that really benefited from his lying. I don't know. Well, it doesn't have to be. Maybe it's a woman for some of you. But there's just a real rage. And it's it's explosive, but it's also tears. There's a way in which this person, and also this person's demand. Okay, so have you ever heard the quote that's like, I've learned in life that the people who demand the most respect are the least respectful. I feel like this person has not been respectful, but they're like demanding respect, in this situation. Or they're saying that they were disrespected or something when actually they're hyper disrespectful. What happened is that they got caught out. Somebody had the audacity to speak up about what this person did to them, or call the police or try to appeal to some kind of help. That's their only crime, or they moved away from this person and this person wanted something so bad, because that's what it feels like. It feels like they wanted something so bad, and it has to do with an empress, but they didn't know how to go about it in a healthy way. And it all just kind of exploded. And you're either hearing about this secondhand or, I don't know, or something here's just popped off. So I'm trying to kind of figure this out as I go. And I feel like that's kind of your energy too. So I know I've kind of meandered my way through this, and this has maybe been confusing to follow, but that's what I have for this one. If it resonates with you, please like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Bye guys.